Okay, so I'm only going to talk about one social issue that I want to talk about because it's going to take me a long time to talk about it, and I want to go in depth. Also, I'm sorry that I always do a video format. I realize that I almost always do video, and I don't know. I'm sure that it would be nice to change it up, but I really enjoy talking about the stuff because I can go back and watch myself really easily talk about it. Um, the issue I want to talk about is the inability to find common ground in debate across the United States, right? Now that I've listed this problem, provide a brief explanation about how you've come to believe that this is an important problem. Is it from personal experience? Yeah, it is from personal experience. I grew up in a home. My father was a national championship debater in high school, and then his brother taught debate at Florida State. So we're an arguing family. Um, and an issue that me and my father argued about a lot and had to learn to find common ground was on abortion. I'm very pro-choice, and he is more in the middle than I am. I wouldn't say he was pro-life, but I wouldn't say he was pro-choice, right? And my attitude was, because I'm not the one having a baby, uh, my opinion should matter less, and so I'm going to uphold the opinion of the people around me who can. Um, and we were able to find common ground after a long time arguing and understand that both of our intent and our thought process and our common ground in this issue is that we value human life and that we just have different definitions of what human life is. Um, does the media you consume talk about this problem? Um, is it a combination of my experience? Yeah, it is a combination of my experience and the media I consume. I, of course, consume a lot of media that is debate. I love watching people debate, and I love watching people try to find common ground, right? I seek out media that is debate. Reflect on how much knowledge you would have about these problems without the media. Essentially, how much are you relying on the media to inform you of this problem? Because of my family, I would still understand the importance of common ground because I argue so much, right? And I would understand that, wow, I only feel good after an argument, not if I won, but if I found what me and that person agree on. Because it doesn't feel good to lose anything, to lose an argument, but it really doesn't feel good to beat somebody up either and make them feel stupid. It doesn't feel good. So one thing I thought about when I was thinking about this problem was agenda setting theory, right? We talk about all these theories on page 310. They're also scattered throughout the chapter, but the table on page 310 gives a really quick oversight in the theory that media may not tell us what to think, but it does tell us what to think about. I don't think that's true. It may have at one point been true, but I think the media does both. It tells us what to think about and what to think about it. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. Um, at least in my experience, right? The media that I see, the media that I don't seek out, is telling me what to think. And that's hard to break away from. It's hard to break out of the, wow, I'm seeing this thing over and over and over again, it must be true. Or because it's the one that I'm seeing, because I'm seeing it from so many different places, it must be the truth. And it's like, well, you have to look. And that doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean that the thing you're seeing isn't true, but it does mean that you should look and look a little bit harder. The chapter this week describes various ways in which we can look at how media affects people. Reflect on how media has influenced you and your perception about the social problem I listed. Discuss one of the theories from the textbook to help explain your media use and its effect on you. Um, it's hard to not talk about the media's coverage of what happened on UVU campus. I think it was last semester, involving um, Charlie Kirk, right? And somebody who, while I did not agree with his politics and his beliefs, I agreed that he was doing something good by going and traveling and just talking and trying to find common ground. Whether I believe he did a good job of that or not, it doesn't matter. I think that is what he was actually trying to do, right? He may have been trying to push a narrative as well, but he was trying to find common ground a lot of the time. Um, media, I think that media has influenced me, unfortunately, and I'm trying to break out of this, to think that common ground is unattainable most of the time. And I do think there are some issues that I will not budge on, and I have a hard time seeing the common ground. I have a hard time seeing the line between my belief and somebody else's. But I think that media, unfortunately, has cut a lot of those lines that it didn't need to, right? Lines that are still there that it is either hiding or that it has completely severed. One of the theories that I want to talk about. Sorry, I got to go through my notes and find the one that I actually used. Okay, attitude change theory, right? And how this relates to media and how it relates to me and this issue. Attitude change theory, not just one theory, it is a collection of theories explaining how people's attitudes are formed, shaped, and changed through communication and how those attitudes influence behavior, right? And this is directly from the textbook. That is the direct definition from the textbook on page 310. Attitude change theory. I'm in a small group communication class, and I'm using a little bit of attitude change theory to talk about small group communication. When we get into argument and we are unprepared or unequipped to argue ethically, our attitude becomes a big proponent of what we are trying to say, right? It is the thing that perpetuates and pushes what we're trying to say rather than the actual root of our issue or the actual root of our morals or the thing we're trying to share. This is a really long video and I'm just realizing that. I'm so sorry. And as we communicate our attitude and as we communicate our, like, what we think, how we communicate it also affects how the other person thinks about that issue, right? If I communicate about being pro-choice with my father and I yell at him and I tell him that he's stupid for believing that, or I tell him that he's evil for believing the thing he's believing, it shapes how he feels about me and about the issue as well. I'm going to try and cut it there because this is a really long video. I hope that made sense.